to record.
All
All right.
right.
I am calling this meeting of the 52nd ADC Rules and Regulations Committee to order on January 9th at 6:03 p.m. We have 4 members present, which means we have a quorum. Are there any corrections to the last meeting's minutes, which were the December 12th meeting minutes? All right, hearing no corrections, is there a motion to?
No. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Is there a motion to adopt them?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So adopted. Next order of business, continuing our discussion of the amendments, the proposed amendments to the rules, starting at the 10th proposal, and I will share my screen.
My notes are that we stopped at amendment to Article 4, Section 3.
Correct. That is the third
so-
part of the 10th proposal.
Okay, I had notes from the last time that we made some agreements on this already on the first part. So are we now at 3 or at We've lost me. All right, now we're at 3. Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No worries. Before we continue the discussion, are there any issues that people have with the first 2 parts of this proposal? I saw, Bill, you added some comments after our last meeting.
Not beyond the comments I added, so which are pretty minimal.
I confess I didn't read it before. I didn't read your new version, so I'll look at it afterwards. If there's any issues, I'll let you know.
They are simply grammatical edits, which I would declare as a friendly amendment.
Excellent.
And if it's useful after we're all done, if we wanted to, I mean, I could volunteer or someone else if we just want to just do a style and grammar go over, because when we're doing things collectively, sometimes things get missed and you don't want to hang up the meeting and dealing with where commas go and stuff.
That sounds good.
And right now we're on 3, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So special meetings. The bulk of our previous discussion centered around pretty much all of this.
Well, the amendment I proposed is basically to add in one sentence at the the paragraph to this saying that that all meetings that are called that are basically meant to be for filling a vacancy in the assembly member, that would we would need to make sure that that is sent out by postal mail as well as email prior to the meeting being called, because the whole proposal is about the ability to send out notice of meetings via email, because currently it just has to be by mail primarily. But since this is a section that would also deal with election law, there must be proper notice given.
Can we go up a couple of paragraphs and address, or do we have no right to address the 25% rule?
We can address it if we want.
Seamus, what's the history of the 25%?
As I understand it, I'm not actually quite sure. I think that was just there from the very beginning. Currently I know, I think actually, let me check one thing with the Brooklyn party rules, because I think that may have just been copied from there. Give me one moment to check.
How many people again are in the ADC?
Approximately 140.
140? Just,
I double check that. Okay, I can't see anything in the party rules about about it being a quarter or the membership. But let me just bring up the membership list. I think I definitely actually way overestimated. Oh wait, no, I didn't. There is 260 members of the ADC.
so,
259.
So you need 65 or 70 or something under this rule. I mean, my question, which I put on the side before, and it's really kind of a neutral question, but it's
Mhm.
what we want here, because it seems if we're taking guidance from county or wherever else, I think the question is whether the intent was always to make special meetings difficult to convene, or whether there's whether we would agree that it should be extraordinary and therefore difficult, or whether we wish to make it easier. So then the 1/4 threshold might be too high, and it's really, I could see arguments both ways, but I think that's, rather than fixating on a number as such, the question is, what is the goal?
Is there any history of calling special meetings?
There has not been,
Mhm.
basically as long as I recall of the ADC and also of the county party, which I found the section in the county party rules, which actually says it has to be 750 members that call for it. And doing the quick math, that is about 37%. So we're actually lower than what the county party rules require.
So they're extraordinary to the extent that they actually never happen. That's how special they are. It's just a question, like if we're going to be
Mhm.
who
devoting
called,
time to this, whether we think it is useful to make it easier to have meetings which are called in addition to the ones that are regularly scheduled. And then I think a parallel question, which I stuck a note in there, is if the regular meetings were more often, then that would presumably reduce the need for a special meeting. If their regular meetings were quarterly instead of twice a year, once a year. Um, so I think it's useful to look at that as kind of one kind of theological issue.
can the
Well, we already,
chairperson, can I ask a question? Can the chairperson call a special meeting on his or her own?
yes,
So you would only need this petition if there was an issue and the chairperson refused to deal with it. Is that right?
correct,
Or wasn't dealing with it in a way that the members were happy?
correct. And to Bill's question in the previous section, we also amended it. So there has to be at least 2 meetings per year. It scrolls up a little bit more.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Um, yes, here we go.
Mhm.
Well, for those of you who have tried to organize, how hard is it going to be to get 1/4 of 260 people?
Well, it would just be basically a lot of people would have to be very angry at the chair, which if that came to be the case, I'd think, since assuming, well, speaking personally, I must royally screw up and people would want to like bring it up with me and all that, or want to like basically show up me up or all that. So that's why I think I think the rationale behind it is basically it's this way that like the chair is basically MIA or something. And this would be sort of almost like a meeting in which to say, okay, let's get rid of said person.
Hmm.
That'd be my assumption, would be the rationale behind it, like similar to, if anyone followed the news of what happened in the Michigan Republican Party.
How does one, where do we get the email addresses of the 260?
That was actually already covered also within
I'm
the
just
section.
asking. I'm
Oh
just
yeah, oh, it
asking.
would,
I'm
oh, it'd
trying to
be-
figure out,
Mhm.
let's say that I think it's not getting rid of your Seamus, it's that you
Mhm.
don't want to deal with something that I think is important.
Mhm.
How hard is it for me to get the list of 260 to write to them and say, please join my petition?
A lot, well, the district leaders have it, certainly the ADC leadership has it. Assuming the rule above passes wherein we can share each other's emails, then everyone would have each other's contact information as well.
Okay, so then one could send out a blast email, and if you can't get 25%, then it's not going to carry anyway. Assume there's a meeting. So what's the point? So I think 25% is okay.
Mhm.
I guess I would agree because I didn't understand. I think this is actually could be maybe written a little more clearly because I can see this. The chairperson can call a meeting, time and place that they may designate, and then a meeting must be called if they receive a petition with X number of people calling for it. But it wasn't clear to me on a cursory reading that the chairperson alone has the authority, on their own authority, that they can do that. And that this is the petition redress is just to circumvent or challenge the chair. I understand that you're explaining it, but I'm not sure that's would be clear. Well, I don't know. It wasn't clear to me. I may not be a good representative here, but
No,
Uh,
I think that makes sense.
Mhm.
no, my question isn't whether it makes sense. My question is just whether this language is clear to everyone else.
How would you clarify it? What would you
Um,
put in to clarify?
May be held at such time and place as they may designate under their
Right.
own authority or something like that. Mm, um, in other words, I read the second thing as I thought the chairperson, I thought to have a special meeting required the 1/4, and then the chairperson had the prerogative to decide when and where,
I
as
al-
opposed to being two separate procedures.
I also read it
Um,
that way initially.
yeah,
I'm
so
wrong.
may I propose that we put the first sentence makes be its own paragraph. And then we change that part wherein a special meeting, give me a sec. I'm not sure the best way to phrase this off the top of my head, but the proposal would be that it may be called by any member with petition of 1/4 of the whole number of members.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm, what is, I don't understand what's unclear. Up until the last sentence used by the,
I'm just saying,
the last sentence suggests that the chair has to make a motion to call a
right,
special meeting. That doesn't make sense.
exactly.
You're absolutely right.
So that's why I thought it was all one thing about the procedures for a special
Mhm.
meeting, which included a petition, and then
No,
the chair would
No,
designate the
yeah.
time and
no,
place
it's
and
two
agenda.
versions, chair
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
petition.
right.
Mhm.
No, I got it now.
This was very poorly drafted originally.
Uh,
So, let me try writing this 1 second.
It's the last, I'm okay until the last sentence. The call for a special meeting used by the chairperson on their own motion.
Mhm.
That
I
seems
don't
to,
even know what that
that
means.
seems to refer to the first special meeting
Mhm.
called by the chairperson on her
Yeah.
or his own, right? And that requires that chair to explain what the agenda is in effect.
Well, why don't we just say they be called by the chairperson thereof to be held at such time and place as they may designate, and the call must specify the item set forth in the petition. And then second paragraph, a special meeting also may be called, must, on receipt of a petition, a special meeting must be called by the chairperson. So if you separate them by paragraph, it shows what the chairperson can do and what the
Right.
petition
Right,
does.
right, yeah.
What was, Roz, what was your proposal for the first?
All right,
Paragraph.
first sentence. Special meetings may be by at such time and place as they may designate, and the call for such meeting shall, and I'm taking the last sentence here, specify the item set. No,
Okay.
no, this doesn't make sense. No, it simply doesn't make sense. Why would a chairperson call a meeting on his or her own motion in response to a petition?
Well, that would be, this is definitely poor, very poor drafting. Because, yeah, it would be, I think the first one would be special meetings of the ADC may be called by the chairperson to be held such time and place that they may designate the council
Period.
specify.
End of paragraph.
Oh, okay, got that.
Then a second one, a special meeting must be called also,
Yeah, this whole thing could be rewritten in a simpler and clearer
Yeah.
way. It's kind of hard to do this collectively, but
yeah,
basically,
somebody should just.
basically
whoever's
it's
doing the
a
writing, just-
chairperson is empowered to call special meetings at time and place of for his designation and is required to circulate an agenda or whatever, like, that's A. And then B, special meetings may also be called, must also be called upon receipt of, if the chair, receipt
Right,
of
if he gets his
X number of people.
25%.
like two separate things, and it would be not more complicated than that.
And it looks like there's a call even when the chairperson does it himself. So then that third sentence, all special meetings applies to both.
So, special meeting may be called upon.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So it's 3 paragraphs here. The third paragraph is the special meeting shall be held.
Okay. Then in that case, I can get rid of this paragraph I'm working on. Okay.
Now, but the next paragraph, or refuses to call a special meeting in response to a petition, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Such meeting shall be called joint.
This seems very peculiar, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
why is the presence or absence of the chair necessary if the organization requires a backup? The chair can call a special meeting, and so can a certain group, minimum number of members, in effect, call a meeting. I don't understand why the chair has to be.
Mhm.
Well, the petition is to the chair, isn't
But
it?
why? But why? I
Because I
mean,
think that's
if you
how
get
it
an
works.
executive committee and it's already clear that it's being called because the chair refused to call it, why can't you just address the executive committee writ large? I mean, I don't know. In other words, I'm refusing to call a meeting, but if you want to call a meeting, you have to go through me anyway. It's
Mhm.
sort of odd.
Yeah, and it's
Because
definitely.
you have the authority to call meetings. So there's a petition to ask you to call the meeting. In the event that you duck that, then the executive committee says, sorry, there has to be a meeting.
Mhm.
That makes
So why not just go to the executive committee directly? If
because under
purpose
the
of meeting
rules, that's the purview of the chair calling
But
meetings.
the reason you're holding the meeting is the chairs are refused to call the meeting.
Necessarily, it may be that the chair doesn't want to deal with something at a meeting. And so you're saying, got to deal with it.
Okay, I mean,
I mean,
it seems a little
well-
convoluted, but whatever.
All right, how does this sound? Special meetings of the ADC may be called by the chairperson thereof to be held at such time and place as they may designate. A special meeting
New
must be
paragraph.
called. Yeah, new paragraph. A special meeting must be called by the chairperson within 10 days after receipt by them.
I don't know. I
Yes.
prefer him, her to them, but that's just for clarity purposes, but I don't care.
Right.
We should just be, Just
I would say them
maybe
just
just-
because of gender neutrality.
well, then it would be, well, him, her is also gender. Or maybe not as gender.
No, because of gender non-binary.
Yeah,
people.
okay. All
All
right,
right,
them.
after receipt by them of a petition signed by 1/4 of the whole number of members of the county committee to which the assembly district is entitled. Next separate paragraph, special meetings shall be held not less than 5 and nor more than 10 calendar days after such call. Notice of such meetings and adjournments thereof shall be given in the same manner as provided for regular meetings. The call for a special meeting used by the chairperson for their own motion shall specify the items. I
Set
agree that
forth
this
in the
is-
petition.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, in either event, no other matter shall be considered in a special meeting. And then separate paragraph, if the chairperson is absent or refuses to call a special meeting in response to a petition, such meeting shall be called jointly by the members of the executive committee, et cetera, et cetera.
Then it's basically, yeah, and then in that case, it's the executive committee doing, the meeting still has to be called, but the executive committee then is the ones who are calling it as opposed to the chair. And then it would also then just go to the gavel order and all that. Which that section we already handled.
Wait, I don't understand now the second sentence. Hold on, shall be called jointly. In the event no such joint notice of meeting is issued. But the chairperson's already refused to do it.
In the event, then it goes to basically the chair of the county committee, so someone who's even more higher
County
than
committee.
me.
Got it, county committee.
Yes,
Yeah.
so then
Okay, got it.
basically,
yeah.
yeah, county committee, when we're saying,
I
hey, we
understand.
really have a problem here.
Okay,
Someone eventually has to hold the meeting.
Mhm.
yeah, okay.
And I don't want to belabor this because it seems like it's almost fictional because it never happened, is unlikely. But what seems, and I'm sorry for repeating myself, but what seems odd procedurally is that if what's triggering this is either the unwillingness or incapacity of the chair to call a meeting when there's a felt need for a meeting about such specific purposes, if the petition is then given to the chair as an individual as opposed to the executive committee, I don't understand what is to prevent the chair from just ignoring it or pocketing it, declining to recognize it has been.
Bad faith, bad form is what I would say. There are rules and chair, you're acting in bad faith.
And then
Give the
basically
chair-
where,
Give the chair the option of doing the right thing.
and then additionally, it's if the chair really doesn't want to do it, then the executive committee has to step in. And if the executive committee doesn't step in, then the county committee itself has to step in and say.
But my question,
"This is screwed
Seamus,
up."
is how would you step in if you don't know if there is no petition? In other words, if the petition is sent to the chair and the chair declines to look at it or acknowledge
Well, it would-
receiving it or whatever, how does the executive committee receive a copy, know that that has happened, or whatever, if that's the procedure?
Maybe it should be sent copy to the executive.
Yes,
It's the
That's
chair.
good. That's a good point.
yes, you're absolutely right. And then,
All right, so our second paragraph must be called with the context of receipt of a petition signed in the country is entitled, a copy of which should be sent to all members of the executive committee.
okay,
Voila.
okay.
Mhm.
Receive the copy by them. Please
That's good. That takes care of that. Good
Yeah.
question.
provide.
All right, now we get to the rationale piece. Do we want to add a rationale for whatever else we're doing here? All we're doing really is clarifying. The stuff we just wrote in. Except for the postal mail, which is now covered by the ration.
Um.
Ah,
Okay, additionally. This text. If I could type, that'd be helpful. Provides better verification.
oh, you're editing the rationale. I was like, what? Where are you
I don't
typing? All right.
understand the rationale here because I thought our goal was to get rid of hard copy.
It is, one thing at a time, if you don't mind. It was so the rationale is originally supposed to be saying, the original amendment I wrote was saying this part where it says that we have to send in hard copies if it's going to be anything that's called to fill the vacancy of the assembly member.
Right, right.
And so, and then as well as the organizing meeting.
Right.
So so that's the whole first part of the rationale. And then what I just added was just adding the clarification that it would how we can call special meetings as well.
Your
So we're-
rationale is inconsistent with what you wrote. What you wrote in green is that for these two kinds of meetings, you do have to use postal mail, right?
It would be the part with postal mail is only for the part that's in green, which is regarding ones that are for filling the vacancy or for
Yes.
the actual organizing meeting.
But your rationale doesn't say that.
Okay.
Your rationale says nothing should be sent out. If the ABC continues to be required to send notices, it would cost $176.12 for each meeting. This is what your last sentence, this amendment required that meeting notices only be sent by mail, not for members whom email is not an option. Would be sent by mail for and those two kinds of meetings.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I do see where I screwed up here. Okay, there was additional part that was previous in there, which is for members who do not have email addresses at all.
Right.
We would have to mail them hard copies.
All right, all right, but you have to change the rationale to show that in fact we're continuing to require mail for those two meetings.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll like clear that up. Members for whom
just as a point
emails.
of information, do we know that we have such members?
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, there's so I'd say about 30 of them.
But those are we don't have their email, but they've communicated that they do not use email. Oh.
We do not have their emails. I've asked them if they would provide emails, and they have not responded. I did send out a letter to everyone we did not have an email address for.
So they didn't respond to snail mail either.
No.
Okay. All right.
All right. So this is the new rationale. For members, email is not an option. Is it postal mail copies would still be required for those specific kinds of meetings?
It'd be for or it was for general meeting for all regular meetings.
Well,
Required.
Where's
Or-
the earlier sentence? Can we go back to the prior page? Okay, all right, now after additionally, okay, go to the new one. Additionally, if we, no, this is, okay.
One second, I'm still
Now,
on
you,
headphones.
you, somewhere here, because somewhere before with the price of postage stamps, there's a possible, for that reason, meetings for those two purposes must continue to notice must continue to be by US mail, but for others, with the price of postage stamps going up.
Hmm.
Isn't that the point here?
Not sure if I'm getting what you're saying. I was trying to explain like how.
What you're saying is that
Yeah.
for those meetings, you still want postage, don't you?
I want, yeah, for those two, yes. And then
Okay,
for
so,
the-
and for both, for those reasons, we still need, we need to mail hard copy. For those,
Mhm.
for those reasons, we still need to mail hard copy for, these kinds of meeting notices, something you can write that more nicely. However, for other meetings with the price of postage stamps going up, it would cost. No, you need another sentence before that.
Do we, just a quick, do we need to have that detail about how much it costs and everything here in the context of
Probably
rules?
not.
I mean, it seems a little odd to me. I mean, it's useful to know, but in any case, it will soon age, whatever we're writing now.
Yeah,
True.
take out the however for regular meetings.
Mhm.
It's in the
Mhm.
prior paragraph. It's for these reasons. Hard copy notice still must be
Wait, so
for these reasons, we must continue to mail notices by hard copy for organizing meeting and nominee selection meetings. Continue to be mailed.
Mhm. No continued.
For these meetings, yeah, for organizing and nominee selection meetings.
Sorry, just hard copies must be mailed. You don't need must be.
Continue to be mailed
Why continue?
because they're now mailed.
So we're just stating rules.
No, no, this is the explanation, but for the explanation is, but for other meetings,
It just seems like
and then I will go back to with the price of postage stamps, whatever.
Mhm.
Wait, but for other meetings, we could just say to save money, email notices should suffice unless people don't have email.
It's kind of a philosophical point, but I don't think you should stipulate that. I mean, this is a democratic process in theory. I don't think to save money, for one thing, and another is a good reason to put. I mean, to say that there's certain more important meetings that require additional notice to make sure everybody gets it by hard, it's a different logic.
But
but
isn't that what we've done? Isn't that the substance of what we just did?
I'm just saying the rules to say to save money, seems like
Okay,
a questionable, logic for procedural, decisions. Because you could save money different ways, doing different things, someone could say.
Yeah, I like the omission here. I don't think we need to be,
okay.
let me pull these in. All right, so
Yeah. Let's move that back up
for
there.
these reasons, hard copy must continue to be mailed for organizing and nominee selection meetings, but for other meetings, email notices may be sent.
And maybe, actually, email notices may be sufficient unless,
It's just email notices will
Okay.
suffice. That's what we're saying,
yeah, that's
correct?
good, will suffice, right?
Mm.
That's good, okay,
Okay, oh,
or should suffice, I don't know. Will suffice.
We want to be definitive. We're with the rules.
However, for members for whom email is not an option, postal mail copies would still be required for regular meetings.
What's going on? What's going on?
Do you mind if I put the additionally part on a new paragraph?
sure,
Right.
Sure.
couldn't care less.
Any other thoughts or concerns on the stuff before proposal 10? All right, last proposal, clarification on proxies.
Basically, this proposal would allow for all our meetings except for the organizing meeting and ones to replace the vacancy, that we can do electronic proxies, so people can just send an email or fill out an online form.
I mean, I've already stated my
Mhm.
my position here maybe some time back, and I hold to that. You know, and again, even though I've been repeating what I said here, aside from the details of what we're doing here, I would hope that we see what we're doing here as to some extent a model of the way we would like the broader county committee and other parts of the Democratic Party to operate. And so we're not bound to have no limit to the number of proxies, and that is certainly the absence of limits, as we all know, famously has been much abused. So I was surprised to see it staying there kind of by default.
Yeah, the no limit to the number of proxies is not part of the proposal, right? That's the current existing rule.
Correct.
Hmm.
But we didn't take it out.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not, the text that's in yellow underline is not part of what we're proposing.
No, it was there, but we have the right to
That's-
change
But
it.
it's a good
Okay.
point.
Okay.
I have no objection, of course. Yeah, and that was your comment, Bill. That's the yellow part. The green underlined is
I see.
what I
Okay.
proposed.
Yeah. I think I put the yellow, I guess.
Well, what do we want to say about, the, limit? What are you proposing? I can't scroll down because somebody else is controlling this thing.
Yeah. Tell me if this is, there we go. Tell me if this is too small.
No, I can read that now.
Okay.
What are we doing? I'm sorry.
Reading your comment.
Oh.
Well, so the question is
Okay.
whether we just get rid of proxies. I mean, what Bill is ultimately saying is get rid of proxies.
I'm not saying get rid of proxies. I'm saying get rid of the absence of limits to the number of proxies and the way they can be used. I would say, if somebody can attend a meeting and wants to designate you or Seamus or someone to vote for them, that's a reasonable democratic procedure for certain purposes. But I mean, in other county committees like the Manhattan and others elsewhere in the state that have gone through this process, they've typically reduced the no limit to a limit. And sometimes it might be 5, sometimes it might be 2, it might be 10. I don't know what the ideal number is.
Yeah.
But the idea is that there should be some constraint on it. So it's, it does become a party machinery operation. That's one part of it. The second part, which I feel quite strongly about, is that proxies should never be used for quorum purposes, period. in any organization. That's a very weird thing about the Brooklyn committee. And it's just, you know, it flies in the face of standard Robert's rules conduct and the rest of that. I mean, a quorum is a quorum is a quorum. It's people actually participating in the meeting. And then if you have an agenda with items that to be voted on, someone who's attendant can then use the proxy, or one or two or three, whatever the number is, to cast the absent person's vote with their assent. But those are two separate things.
To the second one first, the problem with quorum is a lot of times with, and this is probably borough-wide, I'm not sure we would really have any meetings or be able to have any meetings if we didn't have a proxy rule for quorum.
Well, I frankly disagree. I mean, you've had much more experience than I have, but the meetings I've been at, I think that I could demonstrate mathematically that that's
Yeah.
not true. But the point is, that kind of flips it on its head, because the quorum number, you can decide what the number is. The quorum should be a reasonable, attainable number. And every organization is different. You know, some organizations it's got to be a majority, others it's 10% is considered sufficient. And I'm not trying to stipulate what it is. But the principle of a quorum is those who are present and participating. So if you allow proxies, then you can have a meeting which is, you know, you and me, all by ourselves, you know, with 50 proxies in our back pocket. We can call ourselves a quorum and go ahead and do whatever we want. And that has in fact happened, as you know better than me. So again, it's a very unusual practice. I've searched for other organizations that do this, and it's extremely, extremely rare. And when it is done specifically for that kind of leadership abuse potential. So that's my spiel about that.
And I don't disagree with you. I would say though, if we're going to be doing that part, I'd say that should be a whole new proposal, because that would go also into
Yeah,
probably
you've got
change.
the way earlier, where there's somewhere here where we talk about quorum.
Is there? I don't
Well, there's in
remember
the
if I-
rules, maybe not in our section, but definitely
Yeah.
there's somewhere about what's a
That's
quorum.
what I'm saying. That would be a new proposal. I'd say we do a new proposal if that's going to be the
Yeah.
case, or completely regarding quorum, and then also the issue of proxies for that. That would be
Yep.
what I'd say is probably
Yep.
a better solution.
Yeah, we could defer. I mean, it's not a small issue, because again, it's like, you know, it's again, if we want to, and I'm not trying to make overly complicate things, but
Okay, so here's what I'm getting.
a good idea if we think that there are,
All right, 5.5 quorum in the rules.
Mhm.
Quorum shall consist of 1/3 of the membership of the committee present in person or by general proxy or quorum proxy.
right, that's what it says. I
Yeah,
understand that.
so if
But
we want to change that to
I'm
something less
proposing,
than
right, so
1/3.
you would change the number and you would change the ability to use proxies. And again, you know, what it would be appropriate actual number of participants that would be both attainable, but be seen as a legitimate representation of the whole. I mean, it's a very peculiar organization when you've got 250 some members, only a tiny minority of whom usually actively participate. I'm aware of that. But some number is possible, you know, it could be 10%, 25%, 20%.
I'm wondering if you can say like 50.
Just an absolute number.
Yeah, what about 50?
50, I know we'd never be able to have a meeting.
Really? We'd never get to, the meeting I attended had more than 50. I've attended 2 of them, I think, in a church.
The ADC meeting, that one we had, because there's the one that was the ADC meeting that was 2019. That one we had proxies, and there was about 80 people in attendance, and so 50 would have been, because we had a much more higher number, so we had about 300 members of the county committee at the time. Because it was about 110-ish or so EDs at the time.
I strongly support the idea of having 2 new separate proposals, one for the proxies, because there's a lot of stuff to dig into there, and one for the quorum. Because I think there's a lot of stuff to dig into there, and I think changing those rules would have effects throughout the rest of the rules.
Mhm.
Bill, if you're here
Why
and
don't we
if you
just
are
do it?
interested,
Yeah, I mean, that's why I took the time to write this, because I think it is,
Mm.
I think we should,
I think it really is important, and what the, what the, sweet spot is, for, and again, I think Seamus's position that even getting 50 together out of, in an organization where most people don't participate, but, we actually have this, if you look at the procedures for calling a special meeting, that also was a number. And again, I would think that, 10 or 15% is probably representative enough. And it's really a question of legitimacy, right? I mean, most of the business done on the county level, until recently, was only had a small minority of the actual, elected members, as we know. But that was partially because they had no role, even if they did show up, as we also know. So I don't think we want to get trapped in this legacy of dysfunction, by accepting these as norms. Ideally, we want the AD 52. I mean, Seamus, and you're putting a lot of work into this. You want it to function, and you want people to feel like it's a representative body that they can participate in. And if there's no limit on proxies, and you can decide things with 5 people in a room, that's not that.
I would like,
20% is over 50, right? We're 260 something?
we have 20% of the current membership, that'd be 260, 60 times 0.2, that'd be 42 members we'd need. Wait, no, oops.
Oh, 20%, I'm sorry.
If it was
20%,
20%, it'd be 52 members you need for 20% currently.
and you think that's not attainable or not easily attainable?
52, I'd say that's possibly attainable.
But we have to ask ourselves, I'm sure, ask you, Seamus, if it's not attainable, and
Yeah.
I accept you're being practical and you're experienced, but what does that tell us about what we're doing?
Yep.
I mean, it would seem like the goal should be, that's not a large, that's still a small minority of this elected cohort here.
It's only 2 meetings a year max, we think,
That's right. And if you can't get even that kind of level of participation, then you got bigger problems.
To be fair, in many ways, to play devil's advocate, I should say, actually more. In many ways, the position is very pro forma. It is really only there to happen if the assembly member resigns, dies, moves out of state.
Right.
So, in basically, it's for that reason, and also for the county party to continue to establish itself under election law. The additional stuff of the assembly district committee, that is additional stuff that the party added, so it would have more outreach abilities back in the 70s, as I understand it.
Right.
So for many people, they don't even see this, unfortunately, as some sort of way to be involved in their community.
But given that rare instance would be, for many people, the one time, in which they're actually able to use their elected status in a substantive, meaningful way. I mean, I think it's not a bad thing to put the onus on the organization to say that we should at least have some reasonably representative minimum number of people participating, to go through an exercise that is significant. You're deciding who's going to represent you in Albany.
I want to be mindful of time, and give us the time to discuss this more in depth, because I don't know if we'll resolve this discussion in the next 7 minutes. Bill, would you be interested in submitting a proposal that we can discuss so that we can have a focused discussion about the proxies and quorum?
I think I'm at this point, I should at least do that, given the fact
Mhm.
that I've
It's gonna affect both number
roiled
five,
roiled the waters here.
but it's gonna affect 5, which is quorum in the rules,
Yeah,
plus the part here on proxy. So give us a proposal for both.
okay, fair enough.
Excellent. Are there any comments or concerns about this specific change?
I have a question to Bill, which is let's assume that 20% is going to be our number. The other 80% can send proxies. Now, they may not know anybody else.
No,
So
we're not saying that the other 80% can send proxies. We're saying that there would be, for a quorum, you would need that minimum, if it's 20% or whatever it is,
Right,
to hold the meeting. And then separately, it's a question that we should address, is whether there should be a limit of that 20% that's there, of how many
okay,
proxies they can have. That
that's,
might not add up to the full 80%, and I
no,
would actually hope that it did not.
I'm asking a different question. I'm saying I'm a member of the 80%. I only know 2 people. And I'd like to give my vote to one of the 2 people I know. What you're suggesting is going to keep me from doing that if those 2 people are collecting too many votes. So how would I know who else to give my proxy to?
I think this is something best discussed in.
I just want to understand the logic. I'm not against it. I don't understand the logic.
I mean, let's suppose that the maximum was 5. And you only know 2 people and they both have 5. I would say it is probable that one of those 2 people, because they're obviously very involved and they both have 5, would know another one who does not have 5. And if you trust those 2 people, they would recommend the third person to you who only has 3. I think that's the way these things work in the many organizations. The majority of them, when they use proxies, have such limits on the number of proxies.
Are there any questions or concerns about this specific addition to the rules? Because I want to make sure that we have time to vote on approving them.
But we're not. We can't. Let's leave this discussion of proxies and quorums to our next meeting.
Yes, this one question is only regarding the amendment regarding that proxies can be done
Yeah,
for
right,
regular
that's
meetings
fine.
can be done by email or
That's
by
fine.
form. That's all.
That's fine. But the more important piece that Bill is raising would
Mhm.
go in here. So that's
It,
why I'm saying we have to revisit this plus part 5.
it would address the same
Article 1,
section
part
of-
5.
It would address the same section of the rules, but because it's a separate proposal, we can vote on these proposals and get them through, and then we
Why?
can address that separately.
What?
It'd be a separate section of the rules that we'd be voting on at a later time.
No,
It'd be
I'm
mainly the
sorry.
first sentence.
If we're gonna be making more changes to 6, which we are talking about, then I don't think we vote. First of all, we decided not to vote until sort of the end of the day, but 6 is open. So let's just say that everything up until 6 that we've talked about, we're fine on. 6 is not final.
Well, it
Any
would be
more
the
than our
only,
new change to Article 1, Section 5.
with 6, it would be the only change. If we do go with Bill's section, it would be on the first sentence. It would not, or it'd be adding sentence.
All right, fine.
All right, let me try to explain. So this set of proposals, if we vote to approve them, they basically go on the list of things that I can bring to the larger meeting?
No, no. We bring to the larger meeting a list of everything we suggest be changed. We now have two other things to look at. So when we finish looking at those two, we'll have a complete set of edits, and that's what we will present. We're not going to present piecemeal. It doesn't make sense.
The next larger meeting won't be scheduled for some time, if I am correct, Seamus?
I'm planning for it for mid-February.
So we have time.
We could do this in a week. We just need to figure out those two pieces, and then we'll have a complete set of proposed changes that we would present to Seamus. Or to everybody.
So if you give me a deadline, I will do my best to meet it, to put out a proposal that can be can be used to be imported into the language here.
I'm concerned about scheduling the next meeting right now with just us because I want Henry to have input on that in case he's busy. However, in terms of deadline, would you be able to do it within, say, a week and a half from now? Or say 2 weeks from now? You're muted.
I would try to do it within a week.
Good,
Okay.
okay.
All right, then after this meeting, I will send out an email to everyone with a doodle poll so that we can more quickly find a good time that works for everyone for the next meeting.
Okay.
For the point of completeness, for this part of the amendment, which is just to be allowing for electronic proxies for the time being, is that copacetic with everyone?
Say this again?
Is this for the time being, before we handle the bigger issue of proxies at a whole, is this section on allowing for electronic proxies copacetic? That's just I think we should at least end on a positive note.
I would say yes. I think we've reached
Sure,
consensus.
sure.
Yeah. Mm.
All
And I
right.
think
We're leaving to the next
very
meeting. We're going to revisit at the next meeting the question of the use of proxies and quorum. That's how I'm going to end the minute. So that's going to be for the next meeting. Right?
good.
We have now gotten
Yes.
through all the proposals to date. There are two new issues that we want to address at the next meeting. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we got it.
Excellent.
Okay. My dog wants this over.
And I think my dad wants to have dinner.
All right, I move to adjourn.
All
Second.
right.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Yeah.
evening.
Bye.
Bye.